Michael, I was thinking today about the Brad Raffensperger phone call, and if a tape like that were to come out during the trial on something not technically directly related to the trial, the January 6th evidence anyway, this is Donald Trump. We have no idea what kind of taped phone call could come out about Donald Trump at any time. And so this is a trial that could be affected by outside events, outside writing, like Congressman Kinzinger op-ed in the Washington Post tonight saying Republicans should vote to convict. There are things that can happen outside of the walls of that Senate chamber that could affect this.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to understand coming into this trial is that the Republicans have one argument, and that's that the entire thing is unconstitutional. And for them, that's a great thing to cling to, because if they say that, they don't have to address the merits, as you guys were talking about in the last segment. They don't have to talk about what the president actually did. And what happened with this op-ed is that Chuck Cooper, who's as conservative a constitutional lawyer as there is, essentially the poster child for conservative constitutionalism, came out and said, hey, guys, I know you're my allies in the Senate. He's friends with many of the people of the Senate. He's represented them. He's advised them, people like Ted Cruz. He says, guys, you're wrong. That argument is bunk. And in doing that, it's essentially calling them out for this thing that they are holding on to as hard as they can, because then they have to take on the issue on its merits. Was the president's conduct worthy of impeachment?
So, Michael, you're pointing out an additional feature of that approach, strictly the constitutionality of the process, because it completely defends against what I'm talking about, which is some other unpredictable Trump event or a whole new Trump scandal that could erupt on Thursday that could be in and of itself an impeachable offense during the presidency. But it would have no relevance to this as long as the Republican Senate position is you cannot, under any circumstances, have a Senate trial of a president who is no longer in office.
Correct. If under this logic, if it came out that the president had, done as he said, murdered someone on Fifth Avenue while he was president, he could not be impeached and held accountable by the Congress for that, because a former president under the Republicans' rationale cannot be dealt with that way, that this is an unconstitutional proceeding. So no matter what evidence you cook up or scenarios of tapes or audios or disclosure, the Republicans, by hanging on to this argument, are completely insulated from that. They don't have to confront the facts of that. It allows them to put off the difficult decision. It's why a lot of times in legal cases or negotiations or in regular decision making, people say, well, I don't have to make a decision because of a procedural issue. And that is what has happened here for the Republicans.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.